Hey guys, today I'm going to be overviewing Outdoor Vitals' newest backpack, the CS40 Ultra. In this video, you're going to hear me reference the Shadowlight a lot, and that's because that was Outdoor Vitals' staple backpack before, and it's an easy comparison for most people that are familiar with this company. Right off the bat, you'll notice that this is a completely different backpack. This is a 27-ounce pack that is made with what they're calling a Challenge 200 denier ultra weave fabric. And personally, right off the bat, I can tell you that this pack feels a lot more durable than the Shadowlight. I never had any durability issues with that pack, but this is a really robust material that is also super light, so I like that. I also like the look a lot more. So I'm gonna set this down and then we'll get into some of the other specifics of the pack. So you heard me say earlier that the CS40 is 27 ounces. And that's crazy to me because they were able to achieve a fully internal frame backpack with an intentionally designed frame to carry the load well, and still it comes in at just over 1.5 pounds. So the weight penalty for that frame alone is pretty much nothing. Some of the other design features you'll notice are really large water bottle pockets on the side, and they ride very low, so they're pretty accessible without taking the pack off. These water bottle pockets are huge, and currently you'll notice I have two 1-liter smart water bottles on one side, while also having my stove and a few other things on the other side. There's an ice axe loop and a cinch cord at the top so you can put trekking poles on the outside of your pack. There are compression shock cords on the outside of the pack. While they can be used for compression, I think the main design focus for those is to hold things to the outside of your pack. If you pack it well, the shape of the main compartment keeps everything tight enough as it is, so I don't really feel the need for compression. This was the same for the Shadowlight for me. The major design feature that I really like about this pack is that it's built in almost a rectangular shape, so you can't really overstuff it in a way to where it's gonna wear uncomfortably. And since I pack everything horizontally down in the pack, it stacks really well for me, and it just keeps everything together, so I don't really feel the need for compression. You'll also notice one large mesh pocket on the front, as opposed to in the Shadowlight there was a zipper and two separate compartments, which I kind of loved and hated that feature because every once in a while it would be nice to lay your pack down and unzip it and be able to get to the bottom or whatever it was. But the main constraint to that for me was I ended up overstuffing both of the mesh pockets on the outside, whereas if it was one pocket, I think I would have been able to organize things a little bit better in there. Another major feature is on the back pad and on the shoulder straps, they have a thin piece of foam that seems to me to be very comfortable, and it has a lot of little holes cut out in it for breathability and flexibility from what I understand. On the Shadowlight, there was a removable back pad that was also supposed to double as a sit pad. And personally, I found myself never taking it out because it was more trouble to get it back in. And I don't really ever use a sit pad, so I can appreciate a fixed internal back pad on this one. You'll notice the same design in a lot of ultralight packs out there on the market where you have a singular tube and a roll top design, and I personally prefer that because, like I said earlier, the way I pack, I don't really need the extra compartments on the inside, so it works well for me. And the roll top actually gives you a little bit of free extra volume that's not included in the 45 liters. And also there's a strap that runs across the top where you can store other things if you've overpacked as well. And that also leads me to the loops they've added to the bottom, which are for the same purpose. You could, if you wanted to, hang things from the bottom of the pack because some people like to store things like their tent at the bottom or whatever it is. But again, it's everybody's preference. This is just meant to be a quick video, so I think one of the last things I'm going to get into is just the hip belts. So just like in the Shadowlight, the hip belts are super nice. I was able to fit my Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra into this hip belt pocket as well as the same on the Shadowlight. These feel slightly smaller, but they are a little bit more rigid and supposed to be one-hand operational. I was able to operate it with one hand. If you don't have it stuffed, it can be a little bit awkward, but I mean, that's with any zipper pocket just because it has a little bit of give to it. So if one-hand operation on your hip belt pockets is really important to you, that is a feature they've added. And speaking of those as well, they've added 2 cinching points as opposed to 1 on the hip belt pockets. So it feels like a very even distribution as opposed to most hip belts that only have 1 point of tension. But that was one of the first things I noticed when I cinched up the hip belts, is that it felt very uniform pressure around my hips. So I really like that a lot. Another feature I forgot to mention is the load lifter straps, and that kind of ties into the frame of the pack. So whenever you use those load lifters and have slight tension on them, that really allows the weight distribution to go directly to your hips. So you're taking weight off of your shoulder straps and putting it directly onto the hip belt. So that's a super important feature for a comfortable backpack that you're going to be wearing for miles and miles. It worked well on the Shadowlight, and it works well on this from what I can tell. I only have about 20 pounds on the pack right now, but it feels really comfortable when I put it on, and I think that has a lot to do with the load lifter straps. The CS40 is designed with load distribution in mind. From the curved design of the internal frame, to the load lifter straps, to the robust hip belt, everything is designed with longer carries in mind. This is a very intentional pack that is designed for people that are carrying this thing for a long time. The Ultra fabric they use on the shell of this backpack is very water resistant, but they're not calling this pack waterproof because it's not seam taped. But you can seam tape or seam seal this yourself and it will be completely waterproof because the fabric is waterproof. They just don't have any seam tape or seam sealing. I really respect Outdoor Vitals for putting very thoughtful design upgrades from the Shadowlight directly into the CS40, and you can see how they've really paid attention to the feedback they were getting, and that's why I keep comparing it against the Shadowlight, because there is a lot of direct upgrades from that pack to this one. And that doesn't mean that the Shadowlight is not a great backpack, but you can see the evolution of their design changes over time. And like I said, that's something that I can really appreciate, because there's a lot of big name companies out there that don't really directly listen to the consumers in the same way that a smaller company like Outdoor Vitals, who's direct to consumer, I think that affords them the ability to do things like that, where they're not such a big company that those things get diluted. And I think that, like I said, that's something that I really appreciate, and that's why I keep recommending Outdoor Vitals as a company. And I think that about does it for the main features of this pack and a quick overview video. After I've used this for a while, I'll do a full review of it, so stay tuned for that. So far, I really like this. I'll be doing quite a bit of backpacking with this before I give you the full review. But if you're interested, I am not affiliated with Outdoor Vitals. You can go to their website, and I'll leave a link in the description below. It will not be an affiliate link. And I highly recommend looking at this pack if you are getting into ultralight backpacking, or if you just want something a little bit nicer than what you've had before. And I do think it is a considerable upgrade compared to the Shadowlight. Thank you. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to, leave me a comment and let me know what you think about this pack if you just received it. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.